Welcome back. Now it is time for the discussion segment, and like I said earlier, we'll get to talk about gender-based violence. Basically, everything that has to do with gender-based violence and understanding the complexities around it, and also learning to break the silence around gender-based violence. There's been a 16 days of activism. About 2 weeks ago, where they had to, where people had to come out to educate and inform, the public about gender-based violence, how it is important to speak up and also help prevent, any form of violence in the society. And I won't be doing this alone. Of course, I have someone who will be doing justice to the discussion. She's a child advocate and a professional counselor, and she's also, volunteered for different foundations that has to do with basically gender-based violence, abuse of any kind, and helping the less privileged. And she also runs a counseling outfit. She goes by the name Umeh, and she'll be joining us via Skype. Welcome to the show, ma.
Thank you very much.
How are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you.
Okay. Yes, so we're talking about gender-based violence and basically understanding the complexities around it. Now, let's start from the basics. What's gender-based violence? What should people understand when it comes to gender-based violence? We know that in the society presently, it's not. We've been hearing it. Oh, gender-based violence. There is this, there is that, but not so many people understand how serious that situation can be, or how it is important that they speak up when there is a case of violence around or in the community or society.
Okay, thank you very much. Gender-based violence, it's something that has become very prevalent in our society today. And gender-based violence is any form of harm that is perpetrated against a person, a group of people, as a result of their factual or their perceived sex. So whether it's a man or a woman or a child, gender-based violence can happen to anyone. And it can be physical, it can be psychological, it can be sexual, it can even be social, that is financial. So gender-based violence is something that is raging in our society today, and we need to talk about it more often.
Okay, ma. Many people always say that when they hear the word or the phrase gender-based violence, it's always majorly on the female part, where you see that there is a case of abuse on the female gender. Now, do we say that this is true, that many men or the male gender do not experience abuse in any form, or violence in any form, and it is majorly on just the women part? Or do we think that is in the case of society? Do you think that nowadays or presently there is a case where we have more men getting abused or getting basically being the victim of gender-based violence?
Gender-based violence can actually happen to anyone, whether you are a man or a woman or a child. The only thing is that it is mostly perpetrated against women and girls, as in they have the higher number of gender-based violence. But it can actually happen to a man, it can happen to anybody, as long as it is a harm. It can happen to anybody. So it's not only limited to women and girls. Rather, women and girls are more on the receiving end of gender-based violence.
Okay, ma. So let's talk about the causes of this. What do you think are the major causes of of victims of violence? This is you're a counselor. This is something that you've experienced, or you've counseled people over time with. So what are the major causes when when you see victims of gender-based violence? What is it that they always say? And it's always basically common amongst victims.
Okay, most of the cases I've treated so far, I found out that are mostly caused as a result of poverty. That's number one cause. You notice that most of the cases that they bring to us, they come from all these areas where you have a lot of indigent children, you have a lot of indigent families, and you're always running helter-skelter to go and intervene and all that. So Poverty is one of the major causes of gender-based violence. Now, let's look at the case of child marriage. When a family is pushed through poverty, you find that harmful practices are being carried out, where they either give out the child so that the child can assist them, marry off the child maybe to a fairly rich man, or a rich man as perceived by them. And the child is expected to bring home some money. Or probably the agreement, yes, between the parents, maybe at a particular time, the person who has married the child, settles them from time to time. So we can see that poverty is the major cause. However, there are also some other causes like conflicts that is unresolved. You keep having issues and issues that are coming up, and where there is conflict, of course, you will always have gender-based violence being perpetrated by different people, and also we have places, you have one of the causes again to be, where you have people who are in a community and, they are not having, in fact, to be sincere, one of the major reasons is actually poverty, because you come to a community where they are not having basic needs of life. The next thing they result is conflict. The next thing they result to is violence. And these things keep going on and on and on. This does not mean that other people who are in the highbrow area do not also perpetrate gender-based violence. They do. Some, it's even transferred aggression. They are facing issues in their offices and all that. Once they come home, they can just met out some form of violence against their partner or whoever that is around them. So it has a lot of causes, but let me limit it to these ones.
Okay, what of, is still on the causes. Do you think that probably trauma or maybe any psychological issue that has probably happened or effects can also be a cause of this? Maybe for either gender, maybe the male or the female, they probably had gone through some form of abuse in their younger years, and they did not, probably go to see a therapist or, find a way to manage that, that situation that has happened to them when they were young. So do you think that can also be a case of them, basically just heaping the trauma on the other person?
Of course, it is. There is what we call adverse childhood trauma. A child has experienced violence while the child was little, and like you rightly said, the child was not treated, maybe was not taken to a therapist, and what they used to say, oh, she's only a child, she will outgrow it.
Yes.
And you find that we believe in, as a counselor, we believe that an abused child might become an abuser in the future. So that is the reason why we always encourage people who have been abused to speak out so that they can find the help that they need. Aside the justice part, we could also go through the therapy for the particular child that has been abused or that has gone through any form of violence. So adverse childhood trauma is one of the causes of gender-based violence, and it should be treated, because if it's not treated, it will continue to linger from one time to another, even when the child is old, to get married and all that. You begin to notice that the person is behaving in a particular manner. And if you trace back to the root cause, you find out that somehow that person has faced a form of abuse or the other.
Okay, thank you so much for this, Ma. Now talking about how to basically speaking about speaking against gender-based violence. Do you think that with all the work that has been done so far, there's been so much information that has been passed when it comes to this gender-based violence? Now we see that many people do not like to speak up. Many people don't like to talk when it comes to them being victims of this violence. They're always like, okay, they'll rather suffer in silence than even come out to say something, because the families might not even accept them. Take a case of a woman who is in her husband's house and the man is beating her up every day, but she can't say anything. She can't speak to her family members because they would rather tell her to stay back, to sit in the house than come back to the family's house, because it's a form of shame to them, the woman leaving the husband's house and coming back to the home. So do you think that with all of the information that has been passed and, all the sensitization, are we seeing an evident change so far, or is still the same?
Okay, a lot of work have been done so far concerning gender-based violence. However, we are not going to stop, because we live in a complex state. We live in a complex society where people from different background, we meet people from different background. There are some people who till date do not believe that if you're being beaten by your husband, you should report and get help. We're not talking about divorcing the man, because once you tell them to report and get help, they will feel that, oh, you don't want me to remain married. Probably in talking to them about that, they feel that, oh, because you're single, so you want me to end up like you. So a lot of people have really not understood what this gender-based violence is, and they have not, they still live under the umbrella of the patriarchal belief that a woman should remain with the man, no matter what the man does to you, whether he's killing you or he's beating you or doing anything to you, you should remain there. So we're not going to stop. We have to keep talking about it. We have to keep educating them. We have to also bring down this knowledge to the simplest form where they can understand it. If they are predominantly maybe Igbo women or Yoruba women or Hausa women, we can bring it down in their languages, bring them together, talk to them in the language that they will understand. I had a training for some Air Force men's wife at the St. Peter officers' base, and we noticed that most of the women, they really do not understand the English language, so to say. So I had to break it down pidgin. You can imagine me talking on mental health in pidgin language. So that I can try for them to understand. So at the end of the day, while the meeting was over, a lot of them came and told me that, that they've been hearing about this thing, but they really did not understand until today. So I felt that we really need to break these things down to the simplest form where they will understand, so that they will be able to speak out when they face anything called gender-based violence.
Okay, thank you so much in that. Still on speaking out, what are the other means or other ways that information can be passed across? Now you mentioned mentioned the way of speaking in a language that they understand, be it Yoruba, Hausa, Igbo, or even Pidgin language. Basically for them to understand and also be able to relate with it. But then what are the other means or form that an advocate, someone who is in the line of educating people, can always employ when they want to inform people about speaking up or speaking against things like this?
Okay, aside bringing it down to their level in their languages and all that, we need to also check places where we take this information to. We need to check the schools. We need to check the marketplaces. We need to go to everywhere, even the buses. When you're in the bus, just the way you do evangelism, you can speak out about these things, talk to people about whatever, as long as you're an advocate. You have to be able to discuss this gender-based violence in the simplest of form. We can also use the media. Almost everybody has a phone. We can use the media to talk about, like I use my media to talk about gender-based violence. For every day, I post something about gender-based violence, either on my WhatsApp status or on my Facebook feed or somewhere, or on Instagram. We have to use, because we have a lot of crowd, a lot of people coming on social media. So we can even have these flashes that just come up, just like a sponsored advert, talking about gender-based violence. We can go to the grassroots. Like I will be traveling to the village this December. When I get, I want to gather some women and talk to them about this, because those people in the remote areas, they are facing a whole lot of violence, but they don't even know the channel to go through to talk about it or to report. So I am going to do that sensitization when I get to my hometown this December.
That's so thoughtful of you, and I really hope that for other people listening, they also get to take this initiative and do something about it. So on the part of the government and community leaders, what do you think can be done? How can they work hand in hand with other advocates to make sure that something is done about this? Because the very first point of contact when a person who is a victim of gender-based violence is probably their community leader, the local government chairman, or someone, a leader within the community or society. So and some of these people are the ones that they would basically even try to hide them. Even religious leaders, you see that some religious leaders try to hide people who basically perpetrate violence or abuse in any form. They just try to shield them and say, okay, no, the Bible does not Bible doesn't encourage divorce. You don't have to do this, just forgive. They try to just twist things in a way to please them or to favor them. So how do you think that leaders, community leaders, religious leaders, the government also can come together to help basically push us information about this?
Okay, thank you very much. All this boils down to, we have to keep educating everybody. And when you come to the community level, you can't just barge into a community and start doing stuff. It is very wrong. You must go through the community leaders, because these are the people, like you rightly said, whom these people listen to. So when you get there, you inform the community leaders, you also educate them on the dangers of gender-based violence. You inform them what you're trying to do, how you're trying to bring in women and men to hear about this thing, because men are not exempted. When the men are carried along, they will understand that they are not supposed to perpetrate this evil against women. So you have to make sure that the community people are carried along, the chiefs, the obas, the LGAs, the community development, all the community leaders, they must be, even the midwives, they have these local midwives.
Midwives, yes.
Everybody, yes, they must be carried along. You bring them, you can have a meeting with them, bring them together, educate them, let them understand the dangers involved in gender-based violence and people not speaking out. And before you know it, they will harness and bring together these women and tell them that something good has come to their community, and we want everybody to listen and gain something from it. So that's one way. For the religious leaders, we also have to keep educating them too. There are some people who don't even want you on their pulpit to come and talk about this. And we have members of the churches, of the mosques, who are going through gender-based violence. Just look at the case of the woman who was killed, the singer, Osinachi. She was actually in the church. So if the church knew better, and they don't condone the fact that, just be submissive, be submissive, be submissive, they speak about this thing on their pulpit, people will have the boldness to come and talk to them when they are going through any form of violence. We understand that. So for the churches, like I said, that can be done. And for the government, we have to also write policies. Let them understand that these things are truly happening in our community, and they need to help out in ensuring that they put laws and policies that protect women and girls, that protect everyone that is going through gender-based violence. So when these things are put in place, and that there is a penalty for anyone who perpetrates such evil, and the penalty must be carried out well. This one is not cutting corners. It is not a case of cutting corners. They write out those policies, they write out those laws, they protect women, they protect girls, they protect anyone that is facing gender-based violence. And these laws will be carried out, meted out against any perpetrator. So by the time one or two people see that the government are serious about this particular gender-based violence issue, I am sure others will sit up and know that it is a no-go area.
Yeah, thank you so much on that. Now, you mentioned something about policies, of which I just wanted to ask you about the policies that are guiding or that are really standing against, gender-based violence in Nigeria presently? Do you think it's still sustainable? Do you think it's actually working? Because we've had cases of, rape cases of people being killed and all of that, and then there's nothing being done about it. The case will go on for a very long time. The case literally just drags on for a long while, and then before you know it, nobody hears anything about it anymore. So do you think that with these policies that we have presently, do you think it's going to work, or should there be a total overhaul of all the policies and rules and laws, and then just basically the government brings up another law and that would guide against violence in the community?
Well, for Lagos State, the policies that they have put in place are really working. The only challenge we have is that when people face violence, most times they don't know who to report to. So if you go to report to the wrong person, you will definitely not get justice.
Okay. But when it's something you can tell us about, the right channel to report to, the helplines that people can call just so they are aware of it.
Okay, so we have the right channels that you can report to. We have the Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency. There is no case that goes there that is untreated because they have social workers on ground, they have counselors on ground, they have people who will attend to the cases, and they will make sure they follow the cases through till the end. We have CSOs, that's civil society organizations. We have NGOs, non-governmental organizations. We have them there. We have all these people whom you can walk into their offices and you report to. When you report to them, they will definitely ensure that you get justice. The thing is that most times when these reports come, a lot of people halfway, they will drop and tell you that they no longer want to continue with the case. But if you are ready for the case and you report, we will make sure we follow the case through. The cases of domestic violence, where a man is beating the wife and the wife comes to report, if the wife does not follow the CSOs through to the end, it might be unfortunate for us to continue with that case. But if you report and you give us the chance to guide you on how to go about these cases, the way they will be handled, you will definitely get justice. Most of the cases for domestic violence, sometimes it doesn't end in separation or divorce. Sometimes it's just a case of correcting, making the husband understand what he or she is not, what he is not doing. What he is not doing. Right. So when he understands and know about the laws governing and guiding the woman, he will sit tight, he will sit up. And at the end of the day, won't see him going back to perpetrate the evil. And at the end, that shows that we have handled the case, and they will be living happily ever after. While some, they just need to, be in cell because of the kind of evil that they do to the woman. You understand? So there are agencies. We have the Chichiyara Foundation. You can go and report your case there. We have the police station. You can even go to the police station. We have the family support unit in the police stations. We have the DSVA. There are some special centers that the DSVA, like in Festac, they have a domestic and sexual violence desk there. So if there is any gender-based violence perpetrated within Amu or Dofi, Festac and all that, you can go to the Festac police station. They have their decks there. They have it in Ikeja. We have all these places everywhere. So you can always reach out to them and then report your cases if they will be properly handled. The policy is actually working in those things.
Thank you so much on that. I'm sure that our viewers have heard this and they've also noted it down and make sure that just in case it's not necessarily for them, but for anyone within the community where they stay, it's very important that they note this down and also do they basically carry out the right action when they need be. Thank you so much for your time. I wish you could go on because I still have some questions to ask, but we are actually out of time. Thank you for all that you do. I'd like to say a big thank you on behalf of all Lagosians. Say thank you for all that you do for all victims of gender-based violence. Not many people can choose to put out their time or spare their time to actually reach out to these victims, but you are doing a good job and we acknowledge that and we say a big thank you to that.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much. And you've heard from our guest, gender-based violence is an act that should not be mentioned in the public, that should not be carried out whether on the part of the male or the part of the female. It is very wrong and it is a very disastrous act. So if you see a case where a victim or a person, a male or a female, either ways, is being beaten up, is being sexually abused, financially abused, emotionally abused, in any case, any form of abuse, basically in any case, it's very much important that you take it to the right authorities, you speak against it and not form, just basically form close your eyes or turn a blind eye to it. It's important that everybody comes together to fight against gender-based violence, whether be it on the part of the man or the woman. It's a collective work, and I'm rooting and I'm hoping that we all come together to fight against gender-based violence and that we are all advocates for safe living and for unity in the community. We're going to short break. Back with Daybreak Africa. To stay with us.